It's little by little. That's
Yeah.
that's the other part.
Yeah,
And
man.
a lot of people want stuff to happen in 1 year. We're set by those boundaries too. It's like, oh, your first year the business, second year business, this. No. Sometimes it's your fifth, sixth year.
It's one thing I learned from Gary Vee. I'm gonna leave it on this. He says so many people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. All right, guys, welcome to the Beltran Podcast. We are here with a very, very special guest and somebody who I've known and seen do some really cool things all over the Treasure Coast for years. We are with Daniel Cedeño with Buen Provecho Farms, a super cool hybrid style business. This is one of the reasons why I'm so happy he's here, because there's no rules. You do it the way you want to do it, how you want to do it, and I love it. Guys, welcome Daniel Cedeño. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Al.
Yeah, for sure, man. So like I said, man, this is what this podcast is all about. Like the way my mind works, and I love to see so many other people that kind of jive with that. You think of something, you go for it.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I've seen you around town doing a lot of really cool things. But one of the most important things here is that we have a lot of different people that come on here from all different backgrounds. So let's start a little bit with your history and kind of Daniel Cedeño. Start with like the boy. What kind of kid were you? What kind of kid were you in school?
So I was definitely the jokester, a little bit of a troublemaker.
Okay.
And even as a little kid, I remember, because I was born in New Jersey, so that was kind of like the first half of my childhood. So even then, I remember even being a little bit of a hustler then too.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was into the academics. At that time, they were just a little bit too easy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very, into just creating an environment that I enjoyed at all times.
That's awesome, man.
And that's somewhat of a gift from my parents too. That they made that possible.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up your parents. So tell me a little bit about your parents. How were they, and what kind of businesses were they in?
So I was actually just thinking about that before we got here, and it's kind of tough. So I was born kind of in a transition phase for my family. So I was born shortly after they came here from Ecuador. So they migrated from Ecuador to here. So they kind of just fell into whatever was available to them at that time. So I didn't really get to see too much of their passions. I kind of heard about it, asked about it when I was little, asked about it more when I was an adult. But I didn't really get to see it. They were, got into jobs that, were available. And then obviously they progressed from there. My dad has always been a salesman.
Awesome.
Yeah, so he
goes a long way, man. That's one skill I always know.
So I think when he first got here, he started off driving taxis.
Okay. My father started doing that too.
Yeah.
From Colombia.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So yeah, Colombia's right there by Ecuador.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he started driving out taxis. He was actually becoming a teacher in Ecuador before they decided to come here.
Okay.
In fact, was already teaching, and I think also in the first part of medical school over there as well.
Wow.
But he came over here. He was a taxi driver, and from there got into sales. He got into life insurance sales, car sales. Then he got into real estate after that.
All right. Selling real estate or investing?
Selling.
Okay.
Selling real estate.
All right.
So yeah, I mean I kind of saw that progression. That we're talking about decades of progression from taxi driver to real estate agent. His longest career was with the post office.
Okay.
So he's with the post office, still selling houses, still selling life insurance, but that was kind of his stable job. And then he got transferred through the post office here to Florida from New Jersey. Nice. So that's kind of what I saw him do. My mom has mainly been in custodial jobs most of her life, or some retail jobs and stuff. She kind of, I don't know, she has a different mindset than he does, and she's kind of more like, here, I just want to know what to do, get in and out, and be done, because she had to come take care of us and cook for us and everything like that.
Very cool.
But more so, into my heritage, I started learning that my grandfather owned a big old farm in Ecuador.
Oh.
Yeah. So he owned a big old farm in Ecuador, and obviously sold all that to come here. They came just shortly before my parents came. So like I said, it was a big transition phase, like what I was born into. You know, it was very different from their past and what will become, you know, the future, which is now and then my future later.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy.
So you were born here?
I was born in New Jersey. Yeah.
Okay, Jersey. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So for you, when you started to get into the workforce, did you already know that you said, "Hey, man, I'm going to start my own business," or what did you start in the workforce?
So yeah, kind of, sort of. I mean, I wouldn't say I knew that. It was always in the back of my head. Like I said, even being in school, elementary school, middle school. I mean, I was that kid that sold little candy bars out of my book bag, and you know, just try to make extra money.
You get the whole bag. It was like $3, and you can get 50 cents for a piece. You're making money. I was on the same boat, man.
And you know, not spending the lunch money that my mom gave me to spend it on other things. Like, you know, just any way to kind of hustle money into my own pocket. That was always me. So I wouldn't say I necessarily knew that, you know, I was going to be such an entrepreneur later on in life. But yeah, I did go into the workforce saying, all right, I'm going to go here for just a paycheck. I mean, it was, you know, when it was Wendy's, when it was a telemarketing job, I'm going to go in here for just a paycheck because I have these other plans.
Yeah.
You know, it was always
awesome.
these other plans.
I know. Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
So you started like, you know, restaurant, retail, that kind of stuff. Started on the phones.
Yeah. So restaurant, retail, phone. Not so much retail though.
Okay.
That was, I don't know why that was never kind of my thing, but yeah.
Seems boring to me personally. You know, like, so I come in and no matter how hard I work, I'm still gonna get paid the same. You
get paid the same.
I don't get it.
Restaurant for sure, and a lot of labor. You know, cutting grass, plumbing. You know, learning little trades like that was always kind of more my thing. Anything hands-on. Especially outdoors. If I was able to be outdoors, that was the job I would get.
Yeah.
I would later find out that that's kind of, you know, was my instinct to kind of connect with what was my grandfather's past, and more of my family's heritage was, you know, being outdoors, working with your hands, growing stuff and producing.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy that a lot of times the fear will keep people away from trying all these things, but you really don't find things in you until you try these things.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, you have to jump. You got to say, hey, man, let me see what's going on out here. Let me try this. And then you'll see what you're attracted to, what you're enjoying. And like you say, it actually brought back some real roots.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
yeah.
this
Ultimately,
is actually
it
in
did.
me.
Yeah.
You know?
And I haven't realized it until the last few years or last couple of years where it kind of clicked. I'm like, oh, that's why I enjoyed that, and that's why I leaned that way, and that's why I went down that path as opposed to this, that, and that. Because my sister, she's a doctor. She's a full-fledged doctor, and you know, she went that path, and you know, that was obviously available to me. I was the younger brother, but it was just never. It was never. It was never a want of mine, or I never wanted to go that path. In fact, I was like you know, staying away from it just because, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that was kind of, for me, it was a lot of growing up. It's like, hey, you know, be a lawyer, be a doctor, you know, be safe. And it didn't make sense to me. I was like, man, I don't know. It just doesn't seem fun. I want to, you know, I want to
have fun all the time. That's what I say. I created an environment where I'm enjoying myself all the time.
I love it, man. So when we first met, I want to say it was, you know, in Fort Pierce, in the Fort Pierce area.
Yeah, that's correct.
But where was I? Was I still at Sailfish Brewing Company? Or
no,
right
I had
after?
heard. Yeah. You. In fact, I found out later that you used to work there. You were one of the beginning opening crew there, right?
I got started. I want to say it's like 2-3 months after they opened as an apprentice, actually.
Yeah.
You know, then just worked my way up to BGM. It was a lot of fun, man.
That's it. Yeah. So it must have been shortly after that.
Okay. All right. Very cool. And so at that point, did you have the was it the head shop and the market, or what was your first endeavor down there?
When we met, it was actually only delicious or delicious.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the little deli that I had opened up.
That's what it was.
Trying it out, and that was kind of my first big boy foot out into the entrepreneur world, where, you know,
got to pay rent, and
I committed to this rent, and I committed to this investment. I mean, we invested, you know, few tens of thousands of dollars into that. You know, so where it made it a little bit scarier than what, you know, stuff that I've done in the past, you know. So yeah, that was definitely my first big boy step out into the entrepreneur world, and it went really great. It went really great. We were super busy at the beginning, and COVID, you know, unfortunately happened. And you know, I hate to use that as an excuse, but I mean, it did, you know, hinder us, and we just weren't in a position to financially, you know, continue through that. So we, rather than giving up, we kind of changed direction a little bit.
So I saw COVID as that, you know, like you say, wouldn't say a hindrance. It's just a redirection. You know, you got innovate or die, man. These things happen. Hey, things are gonna happen. It's not about what happens to you. Say, hey, what do we do now?
Exactly.
What's next?
Exactly.
You know? So
and that's why I say I hate to use that as an excuse. And yeah, it's not so much an excuse as more as, you know, that was just a pivot point, I guess. You know, that was the pivot point where we were like, all right, this can't continue like this. You know, what are we gonna do next? So we took a little bit investment into a smoke shop. Which you remember. And then we teamed up with 2 other investors and opened up a grocery store, which we saw as a little bit more, during the COVID times at least, more accessible or more of a necessity. You know, you need to do the grocery shopping. You don't have to go out to eat, but you can do the grocery shopping. So that was kind of a way for us to kind of stay safe for a little while. And then we didn't lose that spot, though. The delicious spot was what turned into Main Street Ice Cream.
Okay, I didn't even know. Is that and that's yours too?
Yeah, that was.
Oh, I'd see that one. That part I had no idea. All right.
So yeah, we were just kind of, like I said, it was a pivot point where we were just like, all right, what are we gonna do? And we kind of threw a few lines out there to see what would bite.
Yeah. And then from there, is that where Buen Provecho came from? Did you have ideas?
The grocery store we ended up pulling out of, it just got to a point where the other 2 partners wanted to take more ownership, and they had some different ideas. So, you know, we let that go and just took our, you know, investments out of there. And then also my dad, you know, started getting older and stuff, and could, you know, he was a partner, you know, with me in all of this. So we made a decision to kind of let him, you know, start enjoying his retirement a little bit more. And I closed the other 2 shops, again, to, you know, pivot. And I wanted to start something, again, that would be fully dependent on me and not dependent on my dad, whether he was a partner or other investors or anything.
Tell you what to do.
I wanted to kind of go back to the roots of when I was in school selling those candy bars, you know, just me and only me. And that's where Buen Provecho came from.
Man.
Kind of like that enjoyment of life that we want to surround ourselves with. That's kind of what was the catalyst for this business. And from there, I've just evolved it, you know, from, you know, making the ceviches to opening up a small farm.
Wow, super cool. So tell me about the farm, man. What do you grow in?
So we have one small farm in Okeechobee.
Okay.
And then we just moved to another one in Fellsmere, which we're starting out.
Nice.
In Okeechobee, we have bananas, we have peppers, we have some medicinal stuff like.
You have any moringa?
Moringa, yeah. I got one moringa tree that that's doing great. Actually, a lot of this stuff becomes your babies, and you're like, oh my God, is it gonna do good? And
moringa is actually good for the soil as well. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Tell
you
me
can
about
look into that. So it's a lot of times people use it like in permaculture and those kinds of things.
Yeah,
they'll base a couple of those in between everything because they say it really adds, you know, the right proper nutrients, and then when the leaves fall, it's so nutrient rich.
Oh wow!
It just they say it's really
that makes
good.
total sense.
Yeah.
And again, because I'm, you know, again, that disconnect of like I talked about when that transition phase for my families was when I was born. You know, it was kind of harder for me to find these roots that my grandfather had. You know, with farming and everything like that. So I'm kind of still new to it, and but that totally makes sense because my banana trees that are closer to the moringa tree are doing great. They're like shot up, and then the ones that are further away from it are a little bit smaller. But yeah, we got tomatoes out there, and you know, all types of herbs, and
and this is what you use in your product.
A lot of it is, but not all of it. I mean, again. We work with a lot of local farmers too to bring stuff out to like farmers markets and stuff like that. Especially a lot of the bigger farms locally, they don't tend to go out to farmers market. They're, exporting out to other states, other countries and stuff like that. So
you want to hear something? I know it's kind of off topic, but we're right now in the legendary JNC Lounge. And I remember I went by to see you. I think it was the first time I saw you at the market, but you know who was playing that day? The owner of the legendary JNC Lounge that we're at. Oh, really? Yes, Brad Brock was actually playing music that day. The first time I saw you at the market. Yeah,
that's
man.
pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's just
full circle right there.
It was just one of those things that hit me as I'm sitting here. I remember that.
Was that the Stewart market?
Stewart market.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember seeing you out there that day.
Yes,
that's right.
Isn't that weird?
That's so funny. That's great. I love it.
It's the way my brain works. Things just fall in there sometimes. But that was it. All right. So now you have Buen Provecho. You have these farms.
Yeah.
Which I love everything about growing food, growing your own food, buying from, because I definitely want to connect with you, see what kind of things you have that I'd like to get.
Yeah.
Because little by little, we're
welcome.
slowly at home trying to get the most natural, best things that we can feed our children and ourselves, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just kind of what you are, what you eat. It's like
exactly.
People used to say it a lot, but it couldn't be anything more true, So I definitely want to connect with you on that, man. See what you have and see what.
We love it.
So you have the farms. So from the farms, the products you have, you use some of them. What do you do with the stuff that you don't use and sell?
So we consume it, or we turn it into compost.
Nice.
We are going to start having some animals out on the Fellsmere property, everything little by little. But we're looking to have alpacas and some chickens, which are going to be my favorite.
Tell me about the alpaca. What's the difference between an alpaca and a llama?
You know what? My fiance Catherine could probably answer that better than I can. She helps me in everything. But would you know? No,
they're so similar. Well, because my kids love llamas. It's the weirdest thing. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like my oldest daughter, she wants to have llamas at her wedding, which I don't understand, but I think it's kind of cool. She's like really cool like that. But yeah, I was just curious.
And the alpacas. I mean, the alpacas definitely have the different fur, right? Is that what it is?
Okay.
Is that where the cashmere comes from, or?
Oh.
Yeah.
So tell me, with an alpaca having that, is it just for pets, or can you milk an alpaca, or
with my fiance Catherine, she loves animals, so it would be a pet. I'm a little bit more logical thinking, so I like pets, but I like pets that have a purpose. So
that's what I was thinking. Can you milk them
with the alpaca? I'm not sure if you can milk them, but I'm interested in having them for the cashmere and everything like that.
Okay.
Not even to sell, even just for ourselves. Going more into that homestead lifestyle.
Make some nice little cashmere hoodies.
Whatever. For the 2 days a year that we have cold here in Florida. But and then, obviously the chickens, want some nice local eggs on the farm, and
cool,
everything
man.
to just kind of build that lifestyle and, have that legacy too for the kids,
man.
Growing up with that and, being familiar with it and having, some roots, that are connected to our roots in Ecuador, but they have them here in the United States, which is where we call home,
And this, culture, you're like
bringing that culture. Yeah.
Continuing it.
Correct.
Leaving it in the bloodline. I love that, man. Yeah. Some people, they're strictly motivated by money, and I get it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Me, I'm more of a legacy type of person.
What am I leaving behind? Yeah.
Yeah, like what kind of differences am I making? How do I affect the people around me, and how can I affect my community in long term? In my family, what can I leave for them? How can I continue my culture? Those kinds of things. So I can see that's you're very similar in that.
It's very important because again, money comes and goes.
Yeah.
If you leave your kids a bunch of money, which is great, it can very easily be gone.
Yeah.
But the knowledge you leave them, the lessons you leave them, the culture you leave them with, that's what sticks forever, no matter what. So
yeah, man.
that's very important to me. But I started off with a money mindset, and it's still
Yeah.
very heavy on my brain. But
Yeah.
you know, it's definitely taken a little bit of a backseat compared to legacy and like.
Yeah.
Like we
Well, the
talked
cool
about family.
thing is, you know, working on the legacy, there's so much passion there. You keep your head down and you fulfill that. The money is gonna come. You know,
Yeah.
it's the universe kind of knows that you're doing the right things.
That's
and
what I'm learning.
Yeah, it could. Many times could get tough and everything, but you put your head down, you keep on going. It feels like you're always gonna be all right. Then everything hits.
Yeah.
And then you're booming. You know. I don't know, and that's how I feel. Once again, you know, once you get into business, there's so many schools of thoughts, and in my opinion, there's no right or wrong way, man.
Yeah. No.
Not everybody
100%.
needs to be a billionaire. Some people do.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. Like you were saying, like, you know, your mother and your father, two completely different mindsets.
Completely different.
And,
yeah.
and it's okay. We need all of those types of people in this
100%,
world. You know,
yeah.
it's all necessary. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah. No, I definitely, like I said, you know, back to the mom thing. You know, again, she didn't want, you know, she didn't have that mindset, but she had the mindset to do everything in the household. Like you said, we needed that. If I didn't grow up in a household with my mom and my dad, you know, I might have been a completely different person. But I had that balance at home where, okay, they knew that, you know, they were doing that one part, or the couple was doing this thing and the other one was doing it, and harmoniously just synced and it worked.
Yeah.
And I thought it was perfect.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
And that's the way the world is. We need a little bit of everybody.
That's exactly it, man. All my kids are so completely different, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never say, well, this person's getting these great. I will never do that. You know, like, you can't compare two people like that. You know, I don't think it's fair to anybody.
No, not at all. How many kids do you have?
Three. I have three kids.
Oh, wow.
My son is 16. Then my daughter's about to be 15. And then my baby girl, she's 6, about to be 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I have 4, and then we have one more on the way.
Nice, man. That's Latinos, man. We love them babies. I'd have more if I could, you know.
Yeah, you just
Mama.
start thinking about it. You're like, all right, so to keep everything the way it is, I gotta hold off a little bit until we level up again, and then then we think about it again, and then we're like, okay, well, you know, we leveled up. I think we can.
And then, hey, they may be an employee one day to learn the ropes, you know.
Oh, I mean, so my oldest is already an employee. I mean,
Yeah,
he works the markets with me. He makes ceviche. He gets his hands dirty.
Yeah.
You know, he secretly enjoys it. You know, if you ask him, he might give you a little huff, but you know, you could tell he's, you know. Now he's evolved into cooking. You know, he cooks us dinner at least twice a week.
Oh, how old is he?
He's 15.
That's
He's
beautiful.
about to be 16 in just a few days.
Nice.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, man. So you have your farm, then you do the markets. What all do you sell? I know. I'll tell you what I've had. Your ceviche is out of this world.
Thank you.
Legit. Super. You know, it's like it's right on. Just acidic enough that just a little touch of the heat. I mean, it's really, really good. I've had your salsa, which is awesome as well. What other things do you have?
We have the pickled onions that we're known for. Roasted garlic. I change it up seasonally. So like for the summer, we do a roasted pepper barbecue sauce.
Oh, nice.
So take like
I think I've had
poblanos.
that,
I think you have.
Yes,
Yeah, I think you have. Yeah. So we change it up seasonally, but yeah, those are the staples: the pickled onions, the roasted garlic, the ceviche, and the hot sauce or the salsa.
All right.
Yeah.
And then, so I love this, man. So you have the farm, which is kind of like the home base.
Yeah.
Then you have your markets that you do. But so do you also cater, like you're a private chef as well?
Yeah, that's correct. So we do caterings, weddings, private events like anniversaries at people's homes.
Nice, man. And so is there like a limit? Say, hey, we could do maybe up to 100 people, or have you ever had somebody say that, hey, I need something this big, and like, no.
So far, no, I haven't got anything too big to where I'm like, I can't do it. Some of my bigger events, I do hire, you know, other people to help me, you know, outside of my business to help me out. But most of the time, I don't scare away from, at least there hasn't been nothing too big where I've had to scare away from it. No, we've done events with a couple hundred people and, you know, just bang it out.
So I'm curious, you know, when it comes to private chef or catering, that kind of stuff, people come to you with requests.
Yeah.
Like what's the craziest, most off the wall request that you've ever had for you to come cook, if any?
What's the craziest? No, nothing
Like,
too crazy. Maybe
off the
just
wall
butchering.
meat or
No. People kind of are kind of shy away from that. At least in the world that I live in right now.
Yeah.
I'm more into that. The exotic meats and stuff.
Okay.
I still have to try kangaroo.
Yes.
Which I heard is pretty good. But no, not too much of that. More so like people want to see, be entertained. So they like to see me butcher stuff, which, is
Okay.
not too out of this world for me. Or,
Yeah, but
roast a whole pig or something like
here's
that.
the thing, though. Like, for you butchering, so they're at a table and everybody's watching you. See, a lot of caterers won't do that.
Yeah.
Like, so even those things that you may not think is out of this world, but that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I owe that to working at before I went out and being an entrepreneur, I was executive chef for a few years at a yacht club down in North Palm Beach, and they kind of opened that world up to me of kind of turning everything into a show. So that's another, that's another thing, I believe that nothing you learn is ever wasted. So every job I've gone to, I've always made sure to pay attention to what I can learn there, what I can pick up, whether it's a little or a lot, and pick it up and actually learn it and take it with me for the rest of my life. So that's one of those things that I've learned. This is a art. It's a talent that I do. The cooking, and I've learned to do that, to turn it into a show, and something that's they might consider a medial task to butcher something. I've noticed that people like to watch that.
Yes. That's super cool, man.
You take it to them and you butcher it in front of them, and I don't know, maybe a lot of people are bothered by it too, just because I don't know, people tend to be kind of self-conscious of how they do things, but again, being in the family I grew up, always being encouraged to just go out and do stuff. I almost never really had that fear.
That's
know,
awesome, man.
It was never like, oh, what if they think I'm cutting it wrong, or whatever. Just cut it, and and it comes out great. And in my experience, things have turned out great. People love it.
Yeah, man. So you have that side, and like I say, the way you do it is a little different. I know a lot of people in catering and that. So those little things like that, man, that's next level stuff. It's more like, I don't want to say it's a high-end thing to scare anybody from it, but you could deliver that little bit extra,
Yeah.
And then another side of the business that I've seen, which I think is super cool, is, I don't know what you call them. They're like cooking classes, but they're like private events. Tell me about those.
So the cooking classes, or we like to call them date nights. We shy away from calling them date nights sometimes to try to kind of encourage other people to come. I always tell people, it doesn't have to be a date, doesn't have to be a significant other. It can be, your cousin. It could be a friend from work, whatever. Come and enjoy the class, because we do them in pairs.
Okay.
For most of the classes, it just works better that way. But pretty much it's a 3-course meal. I include the cocktails, they're free, we call them chef cocktails. And so we drink, we enjoy ourselves, and then we learn a recipe. We've done different things. We've done paella. We've done, again, butchering a whole beef tenderloin. We've done butchering a whole chicken. We've done jambalaya.
Nice.
You name it, we've done it. I mean, I can go on and on. But
so when you guys butcher those, do you also have a recipe after, or you just kind of butcher them and have them?
So yeah, when I do the butchering, it takes up a lot of the time, and then most of the time I'll just demo them some kind of tricks and tips on how to sear it real quick, or how to baste it, or what to baste it with.
Nice.
I try to throw in some tips and tricks, and then they get to enjoy their main course, and we do dinner, and we chat, and we hang out.
Nice.
And it's kind of like a really cool, intimate class.
And then I've also seen, I think you did it for kids before.
Yeah, the kids classes. Those. I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually one of my favorite things right now. The kids classes have been just like so eye-opening and so like humbling at the same time. We started the kids classes actually a few years ago, just doing them in the summer. And then this last summer really kicked off. So like I had to open up. We had originally planned to just do one a week. We actually ended up opening anywhere between 3 to 4 a week. Because each class filled up so much that we just had to move on to the next day of the week.
Man, props to all those parents.
Yeah,
how important
I thought it was
this is.
great.
That makes me so
for
happy
them to
that
learn
there's
those life
parents out there
skills.
that want to teach our kids, man. We're big on this too.
Yeah, to teach those kids those life skills, and unfortunately, those parents probably weren't taught those life skills from their parents. So, bringing them to this class definitely helps with that. And then the passion that you see in some of these kids, just immediately take off. They're immediately into it. They're immediately proud of what they've done. And ask their parents, hey, can I go back? Can I go back?
Nice.
It's been pretty cool to be thrown in, I wouldn't say maybe thrown in that same circle, but to be an option for a kid alongside of, what are these places called? The jumping place. They that's what they constantly want to do. And then to hear a kid say, hey, that's also what I want to do this week. That's really cool. And then just to see them progress, because some of them have been coming multiple summers, and even this last summer, some of them went every single week during this last summer. So seeing the progression in them also has been very rewarding.
Think about how many amazing chefs have never become one just because they never really had the opportunity to be in front of it and to know what it feels like we were saying earlier. Man, you have to do things to know if you love it or not. Yeah. You can't just say, oh, I love this, and you've never done it, And
it evolves from there. You know, once you jump into it, it evolves. One kid who actually has some disabilities did a couple of the classes, and from there got the idea and I guess the encouragement to start a little YouTube video.
Oh, cool.
So he started a little YouTube video. He's grilling a whole tomahawk steak on there, and and his mom obviously sent it to us and was like, "Oh, look what he's doing now." And that was like, that's the reward right there.
Fills your heart, I'm sure, man, so much.
Yeah, because I was able to do it for my kids. They get them into cooking, get them to help out, and understand and everything like that. So it was kind of super easy for me to do it now to a group of kids, and
there's nothing like it.
That's one of my favorite things right
now. Yeah, man. I mean, I just know the joy I feel when it's me and my kids cooking. All of them are really getting into it. Yeah. Even the little baby, I think she's the youngest one. She's into it more than than the other two. Yeah. The other day, so I'm not much of a recipe guy. The only thing I keep my recipes on are like sauces, which I want to recreate again and again. So I do barbecue sauces as well. Hot sauces I'm a little more loose with, but the barbecue sauces I try to nail every time. Yeah. But the other day we were doing cookies. And I even bake without recipes, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's dicey.
It is, man. And sometimes it doesn't come out. But I think what I'm doing is, teaching the baby just to have confidence in her stuff. And it's okay if you don't get it right the first time. You learn from it, But so I had all the ingredients out for cookies, some almond flour and some eggs and then honey and, and everything. And I was like, all right, here's your bowl. Here's my bowl. Let's make some cookies. She's like, how much of everything, And I was like, well, figure it out. Let's do it. Like, I'm putting about this much. She puts about that much. Dude, they came out. This was her first time.
Wow.
They came out just as good, if not better, than mine did. Wow. How many chocolate chips you want to put in it, how many eggs you want to put in it, how much honey you want to put in it, whatever it is you wanted to do. And and see, just that, putting that little bit of confidence and
it's gonna go with her for the rest of her life.
Yeah, man.
And all it took was that one little moment. That little moment for you to be like, all right, let's do this real quick, and break away from whatever it is else you got going on. To do that, to instill that in their life. And a lot of the time we don't realize that it just takes a couple seconds to do that.
Man, to that confidence in these kids, man, and just exposing them. We do our other thing is making lemonade.
Wow.
How many lemons, how many limes? Oh, sometimes she's like, we have some strawberries. Can we smash some strawberries? Sure.
Yeah, let's do it. Throw it in there.
Sweet. How sweet do you want it? I want it really sour. I'm like, all right, well, then we only need a little bit of this. And, I just kind of let her ride with it, man. And it's instilling so much, confidence in her decision making. Yeah. So kind of going back to everything that you've talked about, and this is once again like a recurring theme that I see with most of the people that have been on here right now is like, you have an idea, but then you have to make a choice to take action. Yeah. So much is lost in indecision.
Yes.
So many things aren't done. And a lot of times you just have to go, try it, learn, hey, maybe that wasn't the best. Maybe doesn't fulfill me the way I wanted to be fulfilled. Maybe it's not the right timing, not right place in the market, but you wouldn't have known that.
No. You would live then with that doubt.
Yes, man.
And that itch.
I appreciate that so much about you, man. So when it comes to, where you're coming from and, what you're doing now, would you say there's like one or two people that you would say have been like your biggest inspiration? You know, could be family, could be even somebody that you don't know that you follow on social media or anything like that.
Yeah. So I kind of like to just bunch them up in one, even though they're a little bit different. My grandparents, definitely huge inspiration because, you know, like I said before, when I look at my past and I look at my ancestors and what my culture is from Ecuador and stuff like that, you know, they're definitely, you know, they were a really good example. The more I learn about them,
Super cool,
of not only that culture, but also transitioning into the United States, you know, they're, you know, the pillars of that. And then Catherine, my fiance, has definitely been a huge inspiration of, you know, the evolution of, you know, the evolution and the potential of what, you know, everything that I've worked on. She's definitely helped me put it in a solid place, you know, without worry and, you know, a lot of different things. You know, you always have to have that person in your life that, you know, is there for you and doesn't give you that worry.
That believes in you.
Correct. Yeah, that believes in you and you can feel that. So definitely that has been her for sure.
Oh, super sweet, man. I
Took
love
it to the next level.
Love that, man. And then as far as like lessons, you know, like going back, I'm sure there's been things that have been big pivot points, you know. So what are some of the things that you've learned that you've taken on to where you're at now, like that's helping you make the choices you're making now? Have there ever been any like big, I don't want to say failures, but, you know, big obstacles that have come that you've learned a big lesson on?
Yeah. I mean, again, downtown Fort Pierce was a big lesson for me. It was where I learned, first of all, you know, what it means to take on an actual business, you know, like you said, actually paying your rent and doing this and doing that. And, you know, trusting the right people, you know, that was a big lesson for me. Just that whole last year there in downtown Fort Pierce with the grocery store taught me how to make better decisions, you know, and that not everything's such a big deal, that you could, you know, regroup, replan and execute again. So
yeah, man, very cool.
That would be it.
All right. And then like your business now, like say 10 years down the road, and where do you see your business being? And not just your business as a business, but like the world, where we're going with AI, technology. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, it scares me a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. You know, the AI thing and everything like that and what it can be involved with. I see fellow business owners use it now with things as simple as like Google. Instead of like Googling stuff, like one lady showed me, she's like, oh yeah, there's this AI app that I just type in things that, you know, she's an older lady, so like lingo's like, you know, different to her, so it's like, and it tells me like this whole thing and how to respond too, is I think was the key for her. It's like, how do I respond to this lingo, to this text or whatever that she has having an issue with. To me, it's scary. Actually, that's why I get into the farming and stuff, because it kind of makes me feel more safe and more, okay, this is more normal than what everything else is going on. 10 years, I really don't know. I know I'll probably be selling my product some completely different way that I can't even think about right now. Because I think, you know, one of the most likely things is like the way we sell things will be different. Who we sell to might be different too in the next 10 years. I don't know. I'm kind of open to all of it, but also, again, that's why I like what I do now in my farms, because it's kind of more far away from everybody and kind of
that's a good point.
I can see it all from a distance, you know.
Here's the thing, you know, I'm thinking about this. Like, how can AI really affect farming the way you do it? You know, like I don't think it can really change it. What you're doing right now is, I don't see, like, unless you start to get to a huge place to where it's a factory and now the technology in a factory, but I mean, your stuff is like done by hand.
All of us, we barely use any tractors or anything, you know. So it's like, you know, but you know, other parts of my business, again, one that I didn't really touch on is that we're actually opening up our first Airbnb in a couple months.
Man.
So we acquired a house out in Okeechobee that will be Airbnb-ing.
Okay.
And in that, you know, obviously that will change it a lot. We'll see.
Yeah, man. And then so I like to consume a lot of content, but a lot of the content I consume is, you know, mindset, you know, business hacks. I don't want to use the word hacks. It's just a person that came up, but, you know, like just
Tips,
learning tips. And do you have any like super influential, I want to say either influencers or maybe books that you've read that have really shined the light on some of the things you're doing now?
Just because I like the way he speaks, and he just really pumps me up, Grant Cardone, and I know he's super popular with a lot of us, and but I don't know. I listened to a lot of his stuff for quite a while, and kind of I skimmed through his books and stuff, and a lot of it makes sense, you know, and you know, you just got to be smart about how you do stuff without having that fear of jumping right into
no
it.
limitations, and stop worrying about what people think, and
then just the real estate makes sense to me too.
Yeah.
You know, that background of, you know, whether you're doing it on a big scale or small scale, just owning a couple properties or selling houses to real estate, I think that's a very smart part of, or it's a good foundation to have of any business, whether it's food, whether it's technology, whether it's whatever. You need a place to do it, right? So why not own it and create capital that way too?
Yeah, I think that they say, and I'm pretty sure it's true, you know, more wealth is made through real estate than anything else. Yeah. You know, because you figure that's something that you're spending money on, even if it's just where you're living.
No matter what you do.
But other people have to spend money on where they're living, and looking at the market as a whole, I mean, it's always going up. Yeah. You have your little dips here and there, like anything. It's you know, everything in this world is a cycle. But always you step back, look at it in big time increments, man. It's never gonna just go down and stay down, you know?
Yeah, no. That's why I said it's a good foundation to have on any business. If you have, you know, whatever it is you're doing, if you own that building, if you own that property that you're doing it in, you're several steps ahead.
Yeah, man. Dude, I'm so glad you're here, because, you know, once again, it's nice to get inside the head of somebody that's doing some really cool things.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And so, you know, there's going to be a lot of people, number one, that just kind of want to get to know about you a little bit, but there's going to be also a lot of people watching this that want to get into business, that want to start maybe into the culinary field. And it's cool because you're into the food side, but it's not that you don't own a restaurant, which is what everybody thinks, hey, you know, I'm going to get into food, own a restaurant. That's not, you know, so what kind of advice would you give to somebody that wants to get into food, that loves cooking, and, you know, to find their path in the field? What kind of advice would you give them?
So don't be afraid to start small. A lot of people, and again, it was something that I battled with myself, was that I wanted to go big, and I had to do the restaurant, I had to do the big sign, and I had to have the big menu. Start small. And that's kind of what I went back to is the roots. That's why right now we only have 5 things: the ceviche, the pickled onions, the roasted garlic, the hot sauce, and barbecue sauce.
And do it well.
That's right. Start small. And you know, when you start to grow, try to grow with other people's money, you know?
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, you know, you don't always have to invest all your money. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You know, leave yourself enough time and financial freedom to make a pivot. You know? Because a lot of the time we go, and then we go to, we can't pay this, we can't pay that, and now you lost it all. You don't have even enough to pivot. You know. Yeah. You gotta kind of, you know, leave yourself a little bit of room to make those pivots, and just don't be scared and go for it.
Yeah, man. No, I absolutely love it, dude. That's
There's always room for growth. So if you start small, you can grow. Add something to it. It's the same thing with salt when we're cooking, right? We can add more salt, but we can't take salt out of the soup, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's the same way, you know, you just start small and just add to it and build.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, the foundation. You know, you need to build that strong foundation, because with that foundation, you could, like you said, continue to build as high as you want. But without that foundation, you do too much too fast. Yeah. That's a quick tip.
Collapses. Yeah.
Quick tip. Yeah, man. Very cool. So where can these people find you, man? I know you do are you still doing that Sunday market out there in Stewart?
Yeah. So we do the Sunday market every single Sunday. That one's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay. We also do tradition in here in Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
That same day on Sundays.
What time is that one? That's in the afternoon?
That one's in the morning also. That one's 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. actually.
Oh, so you work one and you have
and Catherine works the other one. My fiance Catherine works the other one.
Very
cool. We team up. And what's the other market that we do now? We do Viera, the Okeechobee market. That one's the second Saturday of every month. And there's a brand new market called Newfield Farm. It's in between Palm City and Port St. Lucie on Citrus Boulevard.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't even heard of that.
That
I'm actually got an appointment in Palm City today.
New.
I'm gonna swing by there.
Yeah, that one's the third Saturday of every month.
So it's an actual farm, and they
it will be. Yeah, they're building it out.
Okay.
They're building it out right now, but in the meantime, they're doing the market and everything like that. Yeah, it's really cool.
And then how about for these classes and stuff? How can people find them and sign up for them and all of that?
Yeah, so we're really big on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Those are the biggest ones, and you can find me either through Chef Daniel Cedeño on both Instagram and Facebook, or you can also find us through Buen Provecho Farms on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have all the links on here so everybody can definitely find them. We'll put them on there.
Yeah. And then my phone number is public, so you know you can find that on any platform, everything like that. So I'm pretty straightforward. Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, phone number.
Very
That's how
cool,
you can reach out.
Well, dude, I can't thank you enough for being here.
I appreciate
was great.
you. Yeah,
I learned a lot about you I didn't know.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think people are gonna get a lot of value out of this, man.
Yeah,
They're really gonna.
Thank you for having me.
If it touches one person, that's got that fire inside of them, man, and just to know, hey, man, there's a way to turn this into my life, man. That's everything. That's everything to me, and I know it's gonna mean a lot to you, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and it happens little by little. That's that's the other part.
Yeah, man.
A lot of people want stuff to happen in 1 year. We're set by those boundaries too. It's like, oh, your first year of the business, second year business, this. No, sometimes it's your fifth, sixth year.
It's one thing I learned from Gary Vee. I'm gonna leave it on this. He says so many people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10.
Yep.
Yep. Like
you're busy thinking about that 1 year.
Yeah, man.
Thinking about the other 9.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to thank you. Hey, guys, thank you for tuning in today. Mr. Chef Daniel Cedeño, Buen Provecho. You guys check his stuff out. Send your kids to his class. Get the products because they're all delicious. Guys, we'll see you soon. Come on back.